hurricane's a unique disaster. You give some warning. The first step to be prepared is to stay aware. Everybody should know where they can go in their home and ride out that storm.
Welcome to our latest BATTARIX POWERCAST, where today we are honored to be joined by Ed McCrane. Ed McCrane is become a friend of mine, and let me just give you a short list of his accomplishments or his resume of where he is today. Today he's the Director of Emergency Services for a company called USA Upstar. We'll learn a little bit about that as we progress in this podcast. And he previously, before that, he served 18 years as the Emergency Management Director for Sarasota County in Florida, and directing all things weather-related and storm-related, and we'll get an understanding of how that works and how you prepare for storms and hurricanes and disasters as such. So Ed, welcome to the PowerCast. It's an honor to have you here today, and how are you?
Good, Sam. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
No problem. I understand you've been traveling around lately, I guess at disaster conferences and different meetings in the disaster field. Maybe you can talk about, what you're up to, what's going on today.
Sure. Yeah, disasters can happen at any time. So if we have a real world event that we're asked to respond to, then USA Upstar is going to deploy to serve that purpose. But when we have blue sky this time of year, we're typically going to conferences or trade shows and emergency management related. We attend, we set up a booth, and we meet emergency managers from all over the country at their conference, and we provide them kind of an overview of what we do at USA Upstar. And we're basically we're a turnkey base camp provider. We can do emergency logistics, feeding, bunking, showers, restrooms, laundry, the whole thing. So we typically come into an area that's been impacted by a disaster and set up that camp. So at the conferences, we have an opportunity to showcase that and to offer those services up. And we try to do what's called a contingency contracting, where you don't pay a dime as a customer until you need it. You tell us what you think you're going to need, how many people, showers, laundry, security, and where it's going to be located if possible. And we do all the planning. We have everything there. You know the prices, and you put in all the proper language for FEMA. So because a lot of times after a disaster, if it's a federally declared disaster, our services fall under public assistance. For the emergency protective measures, sheltering, and things like that. After Hurricane Idalia in August, we responded to we set up 2 base camps in Florida for different purposes there. But right now, you're right. We're traveling at conferences. I've been to the Florida Emergency Preparedness Conference this year, FEPA, Florida Emergency Preparedness Association. Been to South Carolinas, been to North Carolinas. Next week, I'll be flying to Cincinnati to do the Clearwater. And then the week after that, Savannah, then Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama.
Wow.
So we're going to be all over the Southeast.
So your luggage is well traveled.
Yeah.
So maybe walk me through that. USA Upstar. Obviously you deploy to emerge in disasters and emergencies. How does that work? If there's a hurricane on the ground, normally you have to deploy like ASAP and get equipment out to an affected area. So how do you manage that?
Well, we can't go into the area like power companies and all. Nobody really goes into the area that's expected to be impacted, but you get as close as you safely can. For Hurricane Idalia, we worked with a state agency, and we were able to get 8 of our mobile assets down beyond the storm to an area south of where the landfall was going to be, get everybody back to our warehouse, and then actually the storm went over our warehouse in Georgia as a Category 1. Everybody was fine, the building was fine, and as soon as the winds cleared, I gave them the okay, and they rolled. So the rest of our assets got down there. We set up a camp for 150 to 300. I think a lot of it depends on where it's going to be, what type of disaster it is. Obviously, a tornado, like the big tornadoes that occurred this week, they've already happened. The damage is already there. And if they want you to come in, you establish an area and you get all your resources, and you get there. We try to be established within 24 to 72 hours after we get the notice to proceed. If we have a client that's already working with us and they say, hey, we're going to need you to roll, then we know right away that we're going to be deploying as soon as it's safe to. If we get somebody at the last minute, which we have, they come to us, hey, can you do this? 2 days before the hurricane hits.
Wow.
Then we get the plan together, and our guys still make it happen. So we're very capable, got a lot of resources. We own our own equipment, and we have a lot of equipment to take care of a lot of people. So it's a great opportunity to kind of give back to those emergency responders and provide them a resource that they're going to need.
Wow. So you deploy before a hurricane, is what you're saying? Is what I understand. You'll
Well,
camp.
we don't go before the storm.
Right.
We might send. I think what we did before Idalia, our owner was seeing this, and I was giving the company. I give them updates during hurricane season, and every other day we do a global situational awareness update. But during hurricane season, I give them a daily briefing on what's happening out there. With Idalia, that storm was forming, and the owner said he wanted a team to go to our main warehouse in Georgia and begin prepping stuff because he knew it was going to be needed. And then, sure enough, we got 2 requests, and we were able to be successful in doing that. One of the unique things we did last year was the state of Florida asked for a volunteer camp. They had this new concept, and I think it's going to be carried on because the director of Florida Division of Emergency Management had this idea, working with Volunteer Florida, which is a organization that kind of coordinates all the volunteer agencies in the state and across the country. They have a national VOAD, volunteers organizations active in disaster. So anyway, they wanted a camp that would hold 100 people from these volunteer agencies. They gave a list of the ones that were approved by Volunteer Florida and the state. And we were working with another company. We set up a full camp with feeding, hot breakfast, hot dinner, snacks all night, cold lunch to take, coolers full of drinks. We had bunking, individual bunk houses for them. We had shower trailers, bathroom trailers, all private entrance and locking, laundry service, wash and fold, and the folks were able to stay there for 77 days. We ran that camp.
Wow.
And the reason that was important was because the area that Idalia hit in North Florida is very rural, small counties, not a lot of infrastructure, not a lot of hotels. It would be like 2-hour drive one way for people to go to a hotel. That way they were all there, and they provided services to the community. We had Team Rubicon. We had Ground Force by Cajun Navy. We had AmeriCorps, UMCorps. All these different groups were coming in. They worked. They'd go out in the community all day, cut trees off people's houses, help the elderly, provide resources, clear roads, and then they'd come back at night and rest up.
Wow. So who typically funds these projects? I mean, is this privately funded? Is this government funded?
Yeah, those are normally government funded. We can work for private companies too. I mean, we can do oil and gas companies, power companies, utility companies, anybody who needs that type of resource. And we have some clients that are in the utility business. If they have a hurricane come through and damage the infrastructure, and they bring in all these workers from all over the place. The power companies bring in thousands of people. Wow. I believe the number I heard for Hurricane Ian was in 2022 was 40,000 linemen.
Yeah.
40 to 45,000 came in from all over the country. Well, they have to have a place to stay.
Right.
And there aren't that many hotel rooms. So a lot of them stayed in base camps that companies like myself that we have provided.
Wow. So
and it is to answer your question, if it's a private company, they're going to pay. If it's a government agency and they're under declaration, then the federal government normally.
I was just thinking about hiring you for the summer. Maybe my company will go out and have a little retreat somewhere. You bring all the trailers,
there you go.
The food in the bathroom. We're good to go. Yeah.
We even have movie night. We had movie night for the volunteer camp.
We'll bring it. Yeah, that's great. So walk me through a regular person. A hurricane's about to hit. How is someone supposed to prepare? What should they prepare? What are they looking for? What are we looking to do?
Good questions. Yeah, for 18 years, I was out in the public
Right.
doing presentations about this, and it's important that information gets out there. So thank you for asking that. But a hurricane's a unique disaster. You get some warning, and unlike a tornado or earthquake that can happen without notice or very little notice, we watch these hurricanes because of our superb technology and satellites and the National Weather Service and NOAA. They do a great job. So we can see where they are. And then the news media shows you the little graphics, and they show you where the storm is and how fast it's going and what direction, and you have the cone. So the first step to be prepared is to stay aware of that. Watch the news, know that something's coming. It surprises me when people say after, I've been on search and rescue missions, and you show up and there's people that survived, and they say, oh my God, I didn't even know a hurricane was out there.
Right.
Well, you got to stay alert.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then to prepare, you want to listen to the local emergency managers, to find out what the plan is for that community. They may be evacuating. You need to know whether you live in an evacuation zone or if your home is safe to stay in. If you've invested in hurricane windows or hurricane shutters and you're not in a flood zone and your home is safe and you've got the supplies, you can stay home. If you live near the coast or you live in an older home that's not protected, that could be damaged or destroyed by that storm, you want to evacuate. Then the thing is, if I'm going to evacuate, where do I go? You can go to one of the public shelters. In some counties, they call them evacuation centers. And you got other hundreds, thousands of people there in the same situation. And it's basically a stronger building like a school. Then they'll have feeding eventually, but you need to bring your own supplies. Right. You get 20 square feet of carpet to lay out your sleeping bag, your air mattress, and just ride out that storm until it's over and determine whether you can go home or not. But the objective is to be safe. Either way, you need to have the supplies to get you through at least 1 week after the storm. And that's the key, where a lot of people wait till the last minute. They go to the store and there's nothing left on the shelves except pickles. And I think that's because people don't like hot pickles. You can't if you don't have power, right? So everything's gone. All the canned food, toilet paper, water, batteries, it's all gone if you wait until that storm is coming. So we tell people, have 1 week's worth of supplies, put together a kit, especially if you have a large family. You need to have food, water, a gallon of water per person per day, flashlights, batteries, a battery operated radio. So when you lose TV and all that, cell phone battery chargers, BATTARIX 3-hour charge would be great to have. Yeah. Right.
So let's go into that a little bit, because thank you for bringing it up. It is my podcast, so I expect a plug.
That's right. Let's talk about BATTARIX.
How do you see the BATTARIX in the future storms and in the future, and people supplying it and putting it into their kit? I mean, as an essential, must have for storms.
I think it is. They sell those things that you can recharge, like. I have a couple of them on my desk, right. but those eventually run out and you can't recharge them. Right. If you get to the point where you have no power source, that's where BATTARIX comes in. Right. I believe you said it gives you 3 hours emergency power. Yeah. It's a great invention. Keep one in your wallet, keep one in your purse, whatever, in your disaster kit. So when you lose that power source, you didn't remember to bring your car charger, or your car won't start, and you don't have power to plug in your phone, it's great.
Right. People don't realize, what it really is, that it's there for that emergency to get your phone, going, just so you can make those calls. During, I think, Hurricane Ian, we actually came in 2 days later after it hit, and we actually found the family huddled under their, brick and mortar, under their porch. They were all holding dead cell phones and cell phone batteries, and they were basically in shock, saying, we need to get power and get out of here. We got them powered up. We had them call, their relatives in Georgia, and we had them evacuated, that same day. So
that's great. That's great. Yeah, that's a terrible feeling when your phone is not working and you're in a situation where you need to make that phone call.
Yeah.
I have 2 phones, and usually one of them is pretty low, so I got to keep an eye on that.
Right. Just one last thing. I saw you posted today on LinkedIn. The difference between a tornado watch and a tornado, warning. I guess. What's the difference, and when do you go? When does a person got to get up and go?
Okay. Well, when conditions are ripe for a tornado, when the weather conditions are right, and thunderstorms are expected to go through an area, the National Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma, put out a forecast, and they say this area has a potential. And they did that last week for what happened Tuesday and Wednesday. So that area will be placed under a tornado watch, which means tornadoes are possible. The conditions are there. The tornado warning occurs when one is actually spotted by a trained spotter or on radar or satellite imagery that the Weather Service has, or the local media. When they have one in the area, you'll get a warning. The warning usually goes out through the wireless emergency alert system or IPAWS, integrated public alert warning, over your cell phone. So everybody gets an Amber Alert or something like that once in a while. It's similar to that. It's a very short message, though. It'll say tornado warning for your area. Seek shelter immediately. Doesn't give you a whole lot of information because the purpose of that is to give you an opportunity to get to a safe spot in your home, or if you're in a vehicle to get out of harm's way, because that storm could hit very quick, very shortly, without too much notice. But that's the difference. The watch is the conditions are present, and the warning is there's one here. There's one on the ground.
So when you get a warning, you got to go. It's time to go.
Well, you don't go.
Or you hide.
Really can't go.
You get into shelter.
You gotta hide.
You get in shelter.
Everybody should know where they can go in their home, away from windows, get down low in a closet or a bathroom or a small bedroom, and try to just ride out that storm. You're probably not going to get hit. Most likely you're not going to get hit. Now, one of the controversial things that I remember covering, we had tornadoes, in Florida. Of course, they're not like the big ones that took Dorothy to the Wizard of Oz in Kansas. These are little ones.
Right.
They're usually water spouts that come off the Gulf, and then when they hit the ground, they're considered tornadoes. And they're EF0, EF1 scale, sometimes a 2. But there's a lot of mobile homes. And if you look on the National Weather Service page for instructions, the safety instructions, if you live in a mobile home, it says get out.
Right.
Don't stay in a mobile home for a tornado. Find a ditch and lay down in the ditch. Well, this is Florida. There's little friends you might find in the ditch. They make boots and suitcases out of. So those alligators, they're disrupted too. So I don't know too many people that are going to leave their mobile home and get into a ditch. And there aren't a whole lot of hard buildings. So when I was researching that, because a lot of people were concerned and didn't have a whole lot of time to get anywhere, there's actually research on the internet from the large Oklahoma, Kansas tornadoes where people were in their car and they had no chance to get out of it. They buckled up and they were found alive in their car. They survived it. Cars are designed to take a high impact crash.
Right.
Now, it's not recommended to stay in a car, but if you live in a mobile home and you're not going to get in a ditch and you don't have time to get anywhere, I told people, get in your car, put on your seatbelt, put the seat back, cover up. And the night before, you're under a tornado watch.
Wow.
Put a blanket, a bottle of water, pillows, flashlight.
Put some tires on the outside of your car.
Yeah. And then, your car may get tossed around, but if you're in that home, a mobile home can't handle too much.
No.
90 mile an hour wind, 100 mile an hour wind, and then that shredding, it just destroy it.
Wow.
Your car, and I instructed, the first responders, if we have a tornado response and you get to a mobile home park, check the cars.
Yeah, wow.
Check for survivors, but check the cars. I did one of those talks, and the next night there was a tornado watch, and a tornado actually went through one of those mobile home parks.
Wow.
And I got calls the next day. They said, you know what? We had the warning, and I looked out the street, and everybody was running out of their mobile home, getting in their car and buckling up.
Wow.
So, and luckily nobody got hurt there. It didn't hit there. But it's just, it's just one of those things. I think public education for disasters is a matter of knowing what could happen.
Yeah.
If you know you're under a tornado watch, be prepared for that.
Yeah. So let me ask you, let's just wrap it. You obviously have a long history of hurricanes and being in storms. Do you have any personal stories where you were ground zero during a storm and, you thought...
Oh, man. I left the military in 2003 and somehow ended up in emergency management. And I worked for the state of Florida. I was new to the game. I knew, like everybody else, I knew what disasters were. But I was the regional coordinator for the Tampa Bay area. in 2003 to 2005 for the Florida Division of Emergency Management. What that meant was I had 7 counties. I worked from home, and I would have a state vehicle, and I would go to them for training and exercises. And then, was a real disaster, I was assigned to one of those. So in 2004, August 10th, 2004, Hurricane Charlie was a major storm rounding Cuba, expected to hit somewhere in the Tampa Bay area. As a matter of fact, they kept saying it was going to be Tampa, Florida. So I was sent to Tampa, Florida. That was my area.
Wow.
So I was in the Emergency Operations Center, and we got ready. The mayor of Tampa came in. She said, just, a little pep talk to everybody. She left. The hurricane shutters came down. The storm was approaching. We're watching it live on radar. It was off the coast of Fort Myers. And then all of a sudden, about 3 o'clock, it turned into the land, and it went right through Punta Gorda, Charlotte County, and it never touched Tampa.
Oh.
So everybody, the shutters went up. Everybody's high-fiving. We're good. The mayor came back smiling. We're good. Good job. And then I work for the state. So I said, I think I'm supposed to go there. I have nothing to do here. So I called, and they said, yeah, get down there. Get down there. So I went down there, and I was one of the first to arrive and see the devastation and nothing working in the Emergency Operations Center. So I called it in, and I was reporting, and then the storm actually tracked across the state of Florida. It went to Arcadia in DeSoto County. It went to Wauchula in Hardy County. It went to Bartow. It went all the way to Daytona, diagonal across the state. So the state sent me to every one of those locations, like leapfrogging, to check out what was going on and undo things. And then a little bit later, they said, hey, we got another one coming. Hurricane Charlie, then it was Francis on the East Coast. I deployed to that one. I went from there to Ivan. They sent me back to DeSoto County near Arcadia, and that's where the storm was coming, just like Charlie, and it turned to Pensacola. So we were good. My phone rang, and they said, Ed, you need to get to Pensacola. So I drove to Pensacola, and I rode out Ivan and worked there with that team. And then I tried to come back home, and they sent me off for Jeanne. We had 4 storms that year.
Wow.
The following year, we had Dennis, Katrina, Rita, and Wilma.
Wow.
So I thought, what did I get myself into? If we're going to have 4 storms every year, and they're all going to hit Florida, we're going to have a problem. I don't know if I can do this. But luckily, we went 12 years with nothing after that.
Right.
But funny story, Governor Jeb Bush was the governor of the state of Florida at the time. And he would go to the worst hit area and visit and do the walk around and talk to everybody. And I was always at the worst hit area when he got there. President Bush, his father came, or his brother rather, came to Charlotte County after Charlie hit. But one day, Governor Bush saw me at the 4th storm of that year in Ivan and Jeanne, and he said, Ed, I'm starting to see a common denominator. He says, every time I come to the worst hit area, you're standing here. And I said, no, I'm not the magnet, sir, because if I was, it would have hit Tampa. I said that you guys send me here. I didn't come here on my own. Wow. So that was a unique experience. For 2 years, I did 8 hurricanes.
Wow.
And a lot of people go 20 years and do 1 or 2.
And you survived.
That was pretty crazy.
Wow. Again, Ed, thank you for your time. I know time is short, and we all have things to get going. But again, thank you for your time. We'll catch up, I guess, in the near future. And for my audience out there, thank you for joining us on this latest BATTARIX POWERCAST. Get your BATTARIX and stay powered. Thank you, and have a great day.